Hello everyone, this is Zafar Abundance Wala. You're watching Abundance Show on Global Abundance Organization television. And today we've got an esteemed guest on our show. This is Laurie Semior. Laurie, how are you?
I am well, thank you. And thank you for having me on into your show again. This is my
Thank
second visit with you.
thank you so much, Laurie. Laurie, can you give a brief introduction of yourself to those who, like 1% of the people who may not be familiar with you?
Well, I think what I want to say so far, which is particularly it's new from the last time that I was here, is that I have since published Unconditional Remembrance: Your Connection to Source, which came out in August, and I'm very excited about it because it's not like that's the end point of everything that I do, but it's been the kind of the next step that coalesces what it means to forget and what it means to remember and how that impacts every aspect of our life. So I call myself a quantum connection mentor. And what I mean by that well, it refers to the fact that I have created this quantum connection process. And part of that is my having been initiated as a Tereya Grand Master, and that it's all about raising consciousness. Everything that I am doing is about raising the consciousness of one person at a time and of humanity so that we can we can do the things that we're here to do, so that we can bring forward the great ideas that we have and create them in a way that feels so aligned with who we are, that we flow into it, and that we don't forget where that essence of inspiration came from, because that's what we tend to do. We tend to get really busy, and we tend to go mm, from the inspiration back into analysis, and it becomes a linear process. And creation is not just a linear process. There's more. So that was
Wow.
a kind of an odd introduction, but there you go.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Laurie, you are a quantum connection mentor, author of Unconditional Remembrance. And you got another amazing, I mean, these two are already on outstanding, but top rated podcast host, Wisdom Talk Radio.
Mhm.
Would you like to walk us through the corridor of your journey
Mm.
about the top rated podcast host, Wisdom Talk Radio?
It's been an interesting journey for me because it started out actually over 10 years ago. There were a few of us at a conference, actually at the Wisdom 2.0 conference, but a really early one in San Francisco. And we were chatting about things, and we started talking about the idea of doing a podcast, and came up with the name. And I invited a couple of other people, and so there were six of us that started Wisdom Talk Radio with the idea that each of us would have our own voice in it. We might interview our own guests and things like that. And we would also come together and have really stimulating conversations because we so enjoyed talking with one another. And we could see that there was a synergy in the energy where new things would come to light just simply in our conversations. So we started that. And and actually fairly early on, I don't even remember when this started happening. One person got busy with other parts of their work and said, "Oh, I can't do this anymore." Another person, and after a bit of time, it was me. And I felt so committed to it, and like it was such an important thing to be bringing out into the world, that I continued. And I continue to till today. Um, I do interview a lot of guests. I different guests on from different parts of the world, and who really are doing things that relate to an expanded view of life and an expanded way of living life. And most recently, actually, I think since January, I started on because I put them out every 2 weeks. But on the alternate weeks, I started doing segments from Unconditional Remembrance and reading those. So that's been really fun for me too, because it's a different way of bringing that material out and of hopefully of stimulating people to consider things in a new way, which is always what I'm wanting to do.
Wow. Laurie, why is it important to communicate? What's the
Why is what?
importance of what is the importance of communication in our lives?
Wow, the importance of communication?
Yeah.
Whoa. Well, in some ways it feels basic, but in other ways, um, I think of several levels of way of answering that. I think about the throat chakra. You know, we know about the chakra system, but the throat chakra is that vehicle for expression. And without expression, or I'll say it the other way, when we express who we are, something moves in us. So, excuse me, that doesn't mean we have to start a podcast, but to speak what is true for you in your life allows everything to move forward into the next configuration and the next and the next and the next. And we can't we can't create without communication, without allowing ourselves to express.
And how about communication with yourself?
In internal communication,
Yeah, self-talk.
well, there's several levels of that, aren't there? There's the self-talk that is it, "You didn't do it good enough. You're not good enough," or "You'll never be able to do that," or, "Oh, look at them over there. Well, they're doing a better job than you are." That kind of self-talk comes out of old patterns, and it's not productive. It's very destructive to ourselves, and it doesn't allow for us to tap into what's true and essential about who we are. So that's one level of self-talk. But as we connect with, our own internal guidance system, as we connect with who we are and allow ourselves to use that, because I feel like that's part of our makeup, part of our blueprint, part of who we are. And I don't mean that just for me or just for you, Zafar. It's true for every one of us. But a lot of people don't know that, or they've forgotten. So the capacity to be able to communicate with oneself, to bring through um, a bigger picture, to get that internal guidance that, I wouldn't know how to function without that, because it's when I have a question, I want to be able to go inside and ask. So it doesn't give my authority to the outside world. I'm not looking to someone else to be my intermediary with presence, with source, with God. I've got that capacity within myself. And that kind of self-communication is the capital S self communication.
Wow. And how about when you feel stuck yourself? Do you like reach out to your friends, or like you've got some professional help? Just because today, in today's world, there are lots of burnouts. You could stuck. So what do? You talk to your friends. You take, like, I mean, you be yourself, or like you walk in the woods. What do you do for like, I mean, for the break?
I'm not sure really what you mean about talking to fans.
Like, when there are times when one wants to take a break. There are a lot
Ah,
of communication going on, a lot of confusion are going on. More
mhm.
we are talking, and more confusion is there, and there are like kind of more like, there's a point of time when one sees better not talk
Mhm.
than talk. Then, what would you do
Yeah, I
in these
definitely don't
situations?
go and talk to fans. No. No, because I want my own um, authority, my own internal sovereignty. If I start asking, whether it's fans or friends, for their input, then I'm not learning how to get my own input, my own internal guidance, which is not just from um, what I already know. This is going beyond what I already know because I'm tapping into that part of me that is connected with the whole universal field, with that quantum field. We could also call that God. We could call that presence, but it's it's that sense of that's the place for me where the rejuvenation happens and where I start to feel a sense of, oh, this is truth, and that's where the flow comes in. That's where the oh, this is what's new. This is what I'm being called to create, and I'm following really what presents itself.
Wow, thank you so much. And does podcasting help communication, ideas to other people, and
Mhm.
does it really have the impact on other people's life too?
I hope so. I truly do hope so because I've been doing it a long time and I'm dedicated. And, I also, one aspect of doing the podcasting that is personal to me is that I get to meet really interesting people.
Yeah.
Whether I'm on their show, they're on my show, but I get to have really interesting conversations. I get to learn something new. Um, Sometimes I get to learn something new because there's something that comes through me in the conversation as I'm asking a question that I say, "Oh, I've never thought of it that way," and yet I'm hearing those words come out of my own mouth. Um, and I do know, I do know from people's responses to the podcast that there are often times where, people get sparked in that same way of like, "Wow, that was a profound way of saying something. I felt moved," um, because I'm very much of an energy person, and that's very much a part of any communication that I have, including on the podcast, is that awareness of the energy and creating an energetic field that allows for someone to be impacted, to be activated, to be touched.
Okay, great. That satisfies me honestly. My question about is the moonshot for human consciousness.
Mm.
If you think in Peter Diamandis terms of moonshot, what is your moonshot for human consciousness over the next 20 to 10 to 20 years? And how does your work at the Baka Institute contribute to the vision?
Well, I wanna say it's not 10 to 20 years. We don't have the time to wait 10 to 20 years. And I think it's much faster than that. My moonshot is much faster than that. And my moonshot is really about it's simple. I could make it quite complex. I'm very good at that. But truly, it is about people remembering their connection to source. And what I mean by that is that we are a physicalized aspect of that whole field. And who we are in our personal world is unique, is different from everybody else. And at the same time, there is that aspect of us that can go inside and get guidance from source, is part of source. That's why we can get that guidance. But we have to remember it. We have to come back to remembrance of that. And so when we start to do that, we start to pull back all of those kind of ties or tentacles that we've extended out, thinking that we need all these other things from outside of ourselves to make us be okay. We need the religious figures to tell us what to do. We need our parents to tell us what to do, or our spouse, or no, no. And so as you start to bring those pieces of yourself that you had connected to someone else to tell you what was true, and we bring them back into ourselves, then we start to be able to claim our own inner sovereignty. And in that, we've got the moonshot. We don't need to wait. And then it's a process of continuing to remember that, because life seems to be set up to foster forgetting. And so we have to pay attention. That seems to be our work in the world, is to keep remembering and keep remembering and keep remembering. And we can we can use how we feel in the body to determine, is this something that is true? It's something I've created deeply, is that a capacity to discern what is true. And when I'm seeing something that doesn't feel true, I feel this kind of something is off in my body. And with that, I start to query, I start to question, I start to explore, because I want to know what's true. And so if people were to learn, so part of that remembering of the interconnection, part of that remembering of our connection to source, is knowing that we have an inner guidance system, and it's always available, and it's always something that it's something we can rely upon.
Wow, thank you so much, and your emphasis on remembrance is awesome. My next question is, from scarcity to quantum abundance. You work with people who often arrive feeling stuck,
Wait a
afraid,
second.
or
I just want to take in the call to prayer that I'm hearing in the background, because that's very precious.
really, that's amazing. You
And
can take.
so, yeah, I can hear it. And I spent time in Turkey, and and of
Oh,
course it's the same. Um, and so immediately I'm transported to a different time and place, and deep appreciation. So maybe we give. Can we? Are you okay giving a few moments of silence just to take that in?
wow, why not? I mean, that's my religious obligation too.
Exactly.
Can you reflect?
Oh, for me, it was just deep, deep peace that I really needed.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were talking about something about Turkey.
Hmm.
You've been there in Turkey, and you used to hear to this call for prayer.
I, you know, just like we couldn't avoid it right now. You don't. You hear it when it happens, and you're part of it. I mean, if you allow it, if you allow yourself to be part of it and to receive it.
Wow. I have gotten even more huge respect for you for listening to this call for prayer. This is mandatory for Muslim to listen to this and then go to mosque and for pray. We
Hmm.
get to hear this for 5 times a day.
Hmm.
Okay. So this is very spiritual, and that's like yoga, that's like meditation, that's like
Hmm.
doing
Absolutely.
connecting it as you talk a lot about remembrance,
Hmm.
unconditional remembrance. Like this
Exactly.
is this is also remembrance of God. Then you're giving time for remembrance to the
Yeah.
God. And to me, what's remembrance? It's not only remembering someone, it's obeying, it's living the life, it's the like as if you have worn this outfit, and that you wear the whole lifestyle of someone who you remember. It's like you
Mm.
you obey the someone who you remember, like be it creator, be it someone who love
Mm.
who's your loved one, can be your father, your mother, your brother, your husband, your partner, or anybody could be. So if it comes to creator, then it's not only remembering him, but to obeying him is the real essence of remembrance. And I mean, you're all there. I like to have a podcast on unconditional remembering
Mm.
separately. So I'm going back to my second question is from scarcity to quantum abundance. You work with people who often arrive feeling stuck, afraid, or in some form of inner scarcity. What are the key mindset shift that move them from a scarcity driven life into what would you call
Mm.
a quantum abundance driven way of living and creating?
Well, it's really not a mindset shift. Um, that keeps it at a certain level of linearity that I don't think is accurate. And so there's lots and lots and lots about mindset that is out there in the world. And maybe I don't, maybe I'm quibbling about terms, but I think I really want to go underneath that sense of mindset to love. When I think of feeling a lack of abundance as really feeling a lack of love. And that lack of love is I don't feel connected to source. So it's not, I'm not loved by a particular person, but maybe I'm not loved by, or I'm not feeling that love from a person because I'm not feeling the love within myself. And so the shift, and it's and maybe shift isn't even quite the right word. I'm really parsing things here, but as we can open to more and more to a deeper experience of love within ourselves, that love of the that we automatically feel when we feel connected to source. It is like our whole body is filled with it. And that is abundance. And that translates into physical abundance. And it starts with that feeling in the body and that feeling in how we're living life. And so everything starts to shift even in how we're looking at things. So the mindset is 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 a happenstance. The mindset comes along with, but it's not let's change the mindset or create a new mindset and then we'll start to feel something. It doesn't work that way.
Wow, that's amazing. My third question is about inner guidance as exponential tech. Peter often talks about exponential technologies as tool to solve billion persons problems. If we think of inner guidance and quantum connection as a kind of inner exponential technology, how can consciousness entrepreneurs systematically learn to access it and use it to make 10x better decisions in their lives and businesses?
It's a really interesting question. I do absolutely think of this as a kind of um, quantum technology. I mean, but a personal quantum technology. I do a lot of work with initiation, and initiation to me is that experience of making a quantum leap. And I do that using higher consciousness energy symbols. So it's all an energetic form, a way of bringing forward and activating that which is already there. So it's not like I'm implanting something in somebody or I'm opening something up and making it available to you because that's what's there and available within you. And and in that there is an activation, there is uh, a leap that it's not, again, it's not linear. It's not like if I do this, then this will happen, then this will happen. It's like, oh, oh, I see, I experience, I feel what's real, what's possible. And then in life, you can start to, um, that becomes your guiding star. That becomes oh, when I feel that, I know I'm on the right track. If I start having that inner dialogue, that inner self talk that's critical or critical of somebody else, same thing, then I know I need to take a breath. I need to take a few breaths, go back inside until I can feel that sense of love, feel that sense of peace. And so, wouldn't it be amazing? I'm just thinking about this right now with the call to prayer 5 times a day. If we, and I hope I'm not saying something that's completely out of line. I'll say it, and you can tell me. I'm imagining using that call to prayer or receiving that call to prayer as a moment, as an opportunity to remind yourself, I am an aspect of source. I am God. God is living within me. It's not out there. It's not in anybody else that's going to tell me what to do. So let me receive it and let me have that be brought forward within my own consciousness.
Wow, That's really amazing. If you allow me to reflect on what you said,
Mhm.
there are two there are two thing methodology thinking. There are two. It's one people. There has to be a time when there was nobody, nothing, but only God.
Mm.
Then this Big Bang happens and everything, and later on, where were we then? Where were we? Who were we?
We were still part of that undifferentiated universe. We
Okay.
weren't we weren't we weren't separate.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, if it was only God,
Mhm.
nothing was there.
Mhm.
He created everything.
And I don't know if it's a he or a she. I know we could quibble
Okay,
about
okay,
that.
okay, okay. I mean,
And it's
um,
not a he or a
yeah,
she.
it's not a matter of he and she, but
Yeah.
it's a divinity,
Mhm.
and it's an identity. Okay,
Mhm.
but I mean, look at when there was nothing but only one God, so you were part of it.
Mhm.
You were part of it. when
Mhm.
you say when you say that this is, I mean, it's within me, I am within him, or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call. I mean, this is, this is purely between you and your God.
Mhm.
This is your, I can't comment, I can't judge at all. This is between you. Okay, so I really respect what you said about, like, I mean, you feel that's like it's within you, or like you're within the the
Mhm.
creator. Okay, my next question is quite interesting. It's about designing a 10x more aligned life. Many listeners feel they are operating at good enough, but not at their true aligned potential.
Mhm.
When you look at your clients' journeys, what are the most critical the levers that
Mhm.
allow someone to design their life so it is not slightly better, but tax more aligned with who they really are.
I have to reflect on that question for a moment because it is a forgive me for saying it this way, and I mean this with all goodwill. That's a very masculine kind of question, which is go get it. Let's get 10 times more. Da da da. You're a man, of course. Uh, and because I realized, I don't think about it that way in the measurement. Like, okay, however, however, I really do feel it constantly, or the it's what's moved me in my own life to discover more and more, which is that sense of I know there is more. It's not that I want 10x times the income or 10x times the clients, or those are would never satisfy me. It's I want to know more and more about who I really am. I want that interconnection to be more and more solid and established so that I can just go inside and ask and get an answer and then know what direction to go in, and life gives us feedback constantly. When you hit a dead end, you say, that's interesting. Maybe it was there to show you something, or maybe it was you weren't paying attention and you overrode what your own inner guidance system was telling you. So those are the levers. The levers are, well, a couple of levers. One is the willingness to receive, the willingness to receive from the universe, the willingness to receive from your own inner guidance system. Because if you're not willing to receive, then you can't really move forward. You're stuck in a kind of loop, and so many people are not willing to receive, or they don't know how. I'm not good enough to receive, or whatever it is, whatever it is. So being willing and able to receive is one lever. Another lever is the willingness to act, the willingness to trust. So to trust that inner sensing, that inner knowing, and then taking action based on that. Oh, I mean, for example, um, I've had situations for myself where I'm presented with an opportunity, and my first instinct might be no. And I'm thinking about something because it was somewhat dramatic for me, and it was an invitation to go somewhere and be part of something, and it was like, oh, that's not going to work with my schedule and la la la. And then I asked about it, and it's like, you are to go. It's like, great. Well, how do I work that out? But the I was willing because that's what I heard. That was the guidance. And so because I was willing to take action to shift what I needed to shift. I also saw some um, situations that had kind of been in the way. I saw them shift. And the willingness to step into what is presented to you brings so many miracles, so many things that you cannot predict. So that's part of it is also the willingness to let go of control. It's another lever, I guess.
Ah, can I ask you another question before I go for the fifth one? It's about the gut feelings. I mean, we generally ignore our gut feelings. Generally, we do, and later
Generally what? Wait, say it again.
we generally ignore our gut feelings. At
Mhm,
times, you have a little feel that this gonna go wrong, or you can, if you act and you listen to yourself of your gut feeling, you get a hold of that and you act, then you are saved, or you get some advantage, or at least you do not get the damages done.
mhm.
Just, and we, how about you? How would you like to reflect on the gut feelings, listening to it or not listening to
Well, we do we do ignore, we do override, we do say, well, that can't possibly be true, or simply, I'm unwilling to disrupt my life because we kind of think about it that way, um, so that I can follow my own guidance. But when we give that up, because that's an old story, when we give that up and say, hey, let me be curious. Let me be curious about what could happen in stepping out in this way. What would happen if I allow myself to play with life? And playing with life starts to say, oh, well, I have that gut instinct. Let me let me go forward with it. Does it feel, is there a flow with it? Not is it part of my 5-year plan? That's mental. And we're going beyond the mental, not to ignore the mental, but to encompass it with a bigger picture that our own system, our own inner guidance system goes so far beyond that. So the willingness to listen and to use a word that you used before, and I know you were using it in a different context, but the willingness to listen and to obey. People get freaked out by that word. And if we think, if when I obey my own inner guidance system, it's it's a kind of surrender. I'm not surrendering to another person, to a belief system, to an ideology. I'm surrendering to that which gives me life. And why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I, if I say I've got this inner guidance system and then I receive guidance and I say, well, I'm not going to listen? That seems like the height of foolishness.
wow. Like, I mean, when you talk of unconditional remembrance, to me it's like, I mean, getting into someone's custody as into someone's security, and like, I mean, you're getting your own home that you feel secure, comfortable, and you're all well when you're
Mm.
like unconditionally remembering and you're into the obedience. So to me is that one. So my last question is, if you could give abundance show listeners one simple non-negotiable daily practice to upgrade their inner operating system so they experience more flow,
Mm.
synchronicity, and trust in their path, what would that practice be, and how should they start tomorrow morning?
Get quiet. Get quiet. Don't try and again make this more complicated, but actually getting quiet is not easy for a lot of people. But it's also because they've told themselves a story about getting quiet, or they're scared, or think they don't know how. But even if you were to get quiet for 3 minutes or 5 minutes each day, maybe twice a day, and just be with your breath, appreciate your breath. Your breath gives you life. Breathe in and feel an acknowledgement within you of, oh, this is my breath. This is my life force. And I want to almost say just that simple act starts to shift things. And it is simple. It is an action. And and you do need to do it regularly. Every day. Every day.
Wow. Thank you so much, Laurie.
Mm,
It is always educational, and it's learning, and you always give the words of wisdom to us.
mm.
And any last message to the planet?
Whew. No, I think my last message is really to you, Zafar. I'm appreciating what you have created here and what you allow for. And I don't know if you realize what you're offering to the world. And I want to acknowledge that. So thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. If you could call me on your show someday, I'll be able to reflect what I'm doing.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for being there and gracing my show. And I want you to keep gracing my show ever. Just
Mhm.
because whenever you are there, there is synergy, there is light, there is knowledge, there is wisdom,
Mm.
there is abundance. I feel as if I'm tuning into abundance. I
Yeah,
mean, you
you
are so
are.
abundant.
Yeah,
You're
and
so,
it happens at that energetic level, and we recognize the feeling in the body, don't we?
yeah, thank you
Thank you.
so much. The word thank is so small for you. Stay blessed and bye bye.
Thank you, Safar.
Thank you, Laurie. Stay blessed. Okay, Larry, how about your show? Hang on. This is not ending. Let me end this